Hello there. My name is Timur Kopev. I'm with Vo Software, and it's a real pleasure to be here at Risk Awareness Week. Today, I want to talk about something very practical, how companies can start moving from qualitative risk management, the typical red, amber, green world, towards quantification without it being overwhelming. Now, many of you work with GRC systems or have a risk register that looks familiar. Risks are scored as high, medium, or low. Maybe there's a 5 by 5 matrix with lots of colors. Sometimes joke that these heat maps are more like modern art than risk analysis. You look at them and say it's pretty, but what does it actually mean? And to be fair, companies stick with this approach for reasons that they consider as being good. It feels simple. It's easy to explain to managers and executives. Nobody has to argue about statistical methods. And let's be honest, sometimes people believe that's all the stakeholders want. This risk is red, so let's panic. This one is green, so we can forget about it. There's also the fear that quantification is too complicated, that you need tons of data, advanced software, or a PhD in statistics. So the thinking becomes, well, let's just say with qualitative, or let's just stay with qualitative until we are more prepared. And the problem is, this means you can't really answer the questions decision makers care about. So that is, what's the actual chance we'll hit our targets, and what's the worst case financial impact? Which risks matter the most if they happen all together? So that's why I want to show you today that it doesn't have to be a huge leap. You can take the risks you already have in your risk register, apply some very basic quantification, and instantly get more useful answers. Then, step by step, you can refine it, add ranges, scenarios, correlations, and so on. And by the end of the session, I hope you'll see that quantification isn't just some exotic thing reserved for statisticians. It's something you can start tomorrow with the data that you already have. And it makes a massive difference in the quality of decisions your company can make. And for today's session, I'll be using Model Risk during the demo. It's a risk modeling application built by Vo Software, and it's well fit for that purpose. Now, before I show you what model risk adds to risk management, let's take a moment to recap what traditional approach is lacking. By traditional approach, I mean qualitative risk assessment, of course, and which most organizations still use. Here you see the typical risk map. So risks are placed on this grid on a qualitative scale, like low, medium, or high for both probability and impact. So here we have insignificant, minor, moderate, etc. It is simple and it's easy to communicate, and that is why it's so widely used. But the problem is that it's very limited to the point of being misleading. So it adds to a few obvious, So in addition to a few obvious, well-known, and nowadays frequently discussed problems of the heat maps, like false precision, inconsistent judgments, ignoring the scale of impact, it has specific drawbacks that prevent this type of analysis from being helpful in decision making. First of all, with this approach, it is impossible to aggregate risks. So you can see individual risks on the grid. So in this red area, for example, but you can't add them up and understand your overall exposure. For example, if you have 10 risks sitting in the red zone, how do you know what that means for you? Whether it means you can lose 1 million or 100 million, the method doesn't really tell you. And second thing is that it can't handle repeatable risks. Many